The dust never really settled in that valley. Even when the guns went quiet, the air stayed thick, like the land itself was holding its breath. The unit moved slow through the ruins, boots crunching over broken stone and burned metal. Orders were simple and brutal. Clear everything that wasn't human, no questions, no exceptions. That was how this war worked. If it wasn't one of us, it was a threat waiting to happen. The soldier at the front kept his rifle tight to his chest, finger resting close to the trigger. He had stopped counting how many days it had been since real sleep. Faces from earlier missions floated in his head, some friendly, most not. The alien enemy didn't scream the way humans did. They made a sharp clicking sound when they died, like snapping bone. That sound had followed him into his dreams. And the ruined structure ahead had once been some kind of research outpost, half buried into the rock. Intelligence said it was abandoned after the last bombardment. Abandoned didn't mean safe. It usually meant traps, or worse, something left behind on purpose. They breached the entrance, weapons sweeping left and right. Inside, the air was warmer. Too warm. Power was still running somewhere deep below, humming through the walls. That alone made nerves tighten. No power meant dead. Power meant someone, or something, was still alive. They went deeper, passing shattered containment pods and blackened scorch marks, signs of a fight, human weapons, alien claws, blood from both sides dried into the floor like dark paint. The soldier felt his jaw tighten. Whatever had happened here, it hadn't been quick. That was when he heard it. At first, he thought it was a piece of metal shifting, or maybe steam escaping a cracked pipe. Then it came again. Soft. Uneven. Almost like breathing, but wrong somehow. He raised his fist, signaling the others to stop. Silence fell heavy. No one spoke. The sound came again, clearer this time. A weak, churring noise, followed by a faint whimper. They followed it down a narrow corridor that had partially collapsed. At the far end, behind a fallen beam and torn wiring, something small moved. The soldier stepped closer, rifle aimed, heart pounding harder than it had during any firefight. Training screamed in his head. Unknown life form. Potential bioweapon. Terminate on sight. But when he pushed the beam aside and the light hit it fully, his breath caught. It was an alien, no doubt about that. The shape was wrong. The skin had a faint shimmer to it, or like oil on water. Limbs too thin, head a little too large. But it was small, tiny, really, curled in on itself, shaking. One of its legs was burned badly, flesh dark and cracked. Its eyes were huge, glossy, and filled with raw fear. It wasn't armed. It wasn't attacking. It was bleeding. The alien baby let out another weak sound when it saw him, pressing itself tighter into the corner. Not aggressive, defensive, like a scared animal. Behind him, someone whispered, "Orders are clear." He didn't answer right away. His rifle was still raised, but his finger wasn't on the trigger anymore. He had seen alien young before, carried into labs, strapped down, studied. He had never seen one alone. Abandoned. Something about that twisted his gut. Before he could decide anything, the ground shook violently. An explosion rocked the facility above them, but dust poured from the ceiling. Alarms screamed to life, red lights flashing. The enemy was back, a lot of them. Gunfire erupted at the entrance tunnel. The unit scrambled into position, shouting, returning fire. The soldier turned to run back, but the ceiling above the corridor cracked with a loud snap. A massive slab of stone broke loose. He had just enough time to react. The baby alien moved first. It let out a sharp cry, louder than before, and slammed its small body against the wall. The air shimmered around it, bending like heat waves. The stone slab shifted mid-fall, veering just enough to crash beside the soldier instead of on top of him. He froze. That shouldn't have been possible. Another explosion hit, closer this time. Debris rained down. The corridor behind him collapsed completely, cutting him off from the rest of the unit. But dust filled his lungs. His ears rang. When the noise finally settled, he realized something worse. He was alone. Alone with an injured alien baby trapped underground while enemy forces closed in from above. The baby lay still now, breathing fast, clearly exhausted by whatever it had done. Its eyes were locked on him, wide and uncertain, waiting for what he would do next. His radio crackled, then went dead. Orders echoed in his mind again. Eliminate it. But the stone beside him told a different story. He lowered his rifle slightly, staring at the small creature that had just saved his life without understanding why. For the first time since the war began, he hesitated not out of fear, but because killing suddenly felt like the wrong answer. The alarms kept blaring. Time was running out, and he knew that whatever choice he made in the next few seconds would change everything. The alarms eventually died, not because danger had passed, but because whatever system powered them had finally given up. The silence that followed felt heavier than the noise. The soldier stayed still, listening to the distant thumps of movement above. The enemy was still there, searching, clearing level by level, just like his own unit would have done. He checked his ammo without looking away from the small creature. Enough for a fight, not enough for a siege. His leg ached where flying debris had cut through his armor, warm blood soaking into the fabric. He ignored it. Pain was normal. Fear was not, and yet it sat in his chest, unfamiliar and sharp. The alien baby shifted slightly, was dragging its injured leg across the floor with a faint scraping sound. It didn't try to run. It couldn't. The burn was worse up close, edges cracked and smoking faintly, like the flesh had been cooked from the inside. The soldier swallowed. That kind of injury usually came from plasma fire. Friendly fire, maybe. Or someone panicked and didn't care what they hit. He crouched slowly, keeping his movements controlled. Every instinct told him this was stupid. Getting close to an unknown organism in an active war zone was how people died. Still, the creature didn't lash out. It only watched him, chest rising and falling too fast, small hands twitching as if ready to shield itself. "You saved me," he muttered without thinking. The words sounded strange in the underground corridor, like they didn't belong there. He almost laughed at himself. I'd talking to an alien baby. War really did mess with your head. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small medical injector. Standard issue, designed for humans, but burns were burns. Pain was pain. He doubted Command would approve of this, assuming he lived long enough for them to find out. The baby flinched when he moved closer, a low sound rumbling from its chest. The air around it shimmered faintly again, weaker this time, like a dying flame. "Easy," he said quietly. "I'm not going to hurt you." He didn't know why he believed that saying it mattered, but the creature stopped trembling quite as much. Its eyes never left his face. He sprayed a cooling compound over the burned leg. The reaction was immediate. The baby cried out, a sharp sound that made his teeth clench. He froze, heart racing, ready for retaliation. None came. Or after a few seconds, the sound softened into something closer to a whine. The flesh stopped smoking. "That's all I can do," he said under his breath. "You're lucky I'm not as heartless as my orders." Something changed then. The baby reached out, slow and uncertain, and placed one small hand against his armored knee. The contact sent a strange pulse through him, not painful, not warm, just there, like pressure behind the eyes. Images flashed for a split second. Fire, screaming, bright white light, then darkness. He pulled back hard, gasping. What the hell was that? The baby recoiled too, clearly startled, but not frightened. Curious, maybe. It tilted its head, studying him like he was the strange one. Before he could think further, distant gunfire echoed again. Closer this time. The enemy had found a way around the collapse. He stood, scanning the corridor. There was only one path left, a maintenance tunnel barely wide enough to crawl through. He cursed softly. Crawling meant slow. Slow meant vulnerable. He looked down at the baby. "I can leave you," he said. "That's what I'm supposed to do." The words tasted bitter. He already knew he wouldn't. With a grunt, he unhooked his pack and cleared space inside, tearing out spare gear. The baby watched every movement. When he gently lifted it, expecting resistance, there was none. It was lighter than he expected, fragile in his arms despite the power he had just witnessed. "Don't make me regret this," he muttered. He crawled into the tunnel, dragging himself forward with one arm while cradling the baby with the other. The metal walls scraped his armor, every sound feeling too loud. Behind him, shouts echoed in a harsh alien tongue. They were close enough now that he could hear claws clicking against stone. The tunnel sloped downward, then leveled out. His arms burned. Sweat stung his eyes. The baby remained quiet, pressed against his chest, its breathing slowly evening out. Then the tunnel opened into a wider chamber. Natural rock. Old, untouched by machines. In the center of it stood something he hadn't expected. A dead alien soldier. It was massive, far larger than the ones he'd fought before. Armor fused into its flesh, chest blown open by heavy explosives. Whatever this thing had been, it was important. And it had died protecting something. The baby stirred, letting out a soft sound. The air in the chamber shifted, heavy with something like grief. The soldier felt it press into his thoughts, not images this time, but emotion, loss, fear, loneliness so deep it made his throat tighten. "This was yours," he said quietly, looking at the corpse. The baby didn't deny it. Behind him, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. He realized then that this wasn't just an abandoned creature. It was a survivor, and if the enemy found it, they wouldn't hesitate to use it, dissect it, turn it into a weapon. And maybe, just maybe, that was why it had been marked for elimination in the first place. He tightened his grip, positioning himself between the baby and the tunnel entrance, rifle raised. "If they want you," he whispered, "they're going through me first." The chamber felt colder as the sounds of the enemy crept closer. The soldier planted his feet, using the rock wall for cover, rifle aimed at the narrow tunnel entrance. His mind ran through options fast. Were none of them good? Outnumbered. Low ammo. Injured. Carrying something command wanted erased from existence. The baby shifted against his chest again, sensing the tension. The faint shimmer returned, barely visible, like a ripple in water. He felt that pressure behind his eyes once more, stronger this time. Not images, not words, intent, hide. The idea wasn't spoken, but it landed in his head clear as a command. Before he could argue with a thought that wasn't his, the rock wall behind him softened. Not melted, not broken, it simply gave way, like thick mud. His back sank into it a few inches, then stopped. The baby made a quiet sound, strained, as if this simple act cost it more than it should. He stared, stunned. "You did that?" The wall hardened again, solid as before. Boots scraped in the tunnel, harsh voices echoed, sharp and excited. They knew something valuable was down here. The soldier held his breath as shadows moved past the tunnel mouth. One of them paused, sniffing the air, head tilting slightly. The baby pressed closer, trembling. The soldier didn't think. He trusted the thing that had already saved him twice. He stepped back into the softened rock. The world squeezed around him, tight and cold, then released. He stumbled forward and nearly fell. Behind him, the rock sealed shut, leaving no sign it had ever opened. He was in darkness now, complete, heavy darkness. The air smelled different, old, safe somehow. The enemy voices grew distant, confused. They shouted, argued, searched the chamber. Then, slowly, they moved on. The soldier sank to his knees, finally letting out the breath he'd been holding. His hands shook. Not from fear, but from the realization that the thing in his arms was far more than a helpless child. "You're dangerous," he whispered. The baby didn't react like it understood the word, but it did something else. It rested its head against his chest and closed its eyes. Exhaustion took it completely. The shimmer faded. He sat there for a long time, listening to his own heartbeat. The war above felt unreal now, like another world entirely. He checked the baby's injury again. The burn looked better, already healing at the edges in a way human flesh never could. When he finally stood, he realized the darkness wasn't total anymore. A faint glow came from the walls, soft and blue, revealing a narrow passage stretching deeper into the rock. Natural tunnels. Ancient ones. "No maps for this," he muttered. His radio crackled suddenly, weak but alive. "Any unit. Respond." He froze. Command frequency. He could answer. "Call for extraction. Hand over the alien. Complete the mission." He looked down at the sleeping creature. He switched the radio off. Moving through the tunnels was slow but steady. The deeper he went, the warmer it became. The walls pulsed faintly, like they were alive. At one point, he felt that pressure again, guiding him left instead of right, down instead of up. He followed without question. Hours passed, maybe more. Time felt strange down there. Eventually, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern. Light poured in from above through a massive crack in the surface, far beyond the battlefield. Fresh air hit his lungs like a gift. He almost laughed. At the far end of the cavern, shapes lay scattered across the ground. Old weapons, alien tech, rusted and broken. Or this place had been a refuge once, long before humans ever arrived. The baby stirred, waking slowly. Its eyes opened, calmer now, stronger. "This is home, isn't it?" he asked quietly. The baby looked around, then back at him. That same gentle pressure touched his mind again. Gratitude, trust, something else too. Warning. He turned toward the cavern entrance just as movement caught his eye. Human silhouettes appeared against the light. Armed, careful. His unit. His hand tightened on his rifle. They hadn't found him. They had followed him. The first shot didn't come. That was the problem. The silhouettes at the cavern entrance stayed still, rifles raised but not firing. They were studying him, studying what he was holding. The soldier slowly shifted his stance, putting his body between the baby and the line of sight. But his finger rested near the trigger, not on it. If this turned into a fight, it would be fast and ugly. A voice echoed across the cavern, distorted slightly by the open space. "Lower your weapon." He didn't move. Another step forward from the group. He recognized their armor patterns now. Same unit, same patch, same orders burned into all their heads. "You're carrying it," the voice said, not surprised, almost relieved. "Command wants it intact." That sent a cold jolt through him. "Intact?" he replied. "That's not what the briefing said." There was a pause, then, Orders changed. Of course they did. He glanced down at the baby. Its eyes were open now, alert, watching the humans with quiet intensity. The shimmer returned, faint but steady. He felt that pressure behind his eyes again, sharper this time. Not fear. Focus. Or they intend to use me! The meaning hit him hard, not as words, but certainty. He believed it without question. "What happens after you take it?" he asked. Another pause, longer. "That's not your concern." That was answer enough. He took a step back, closer to the cavern wall. The soldiers advanced in response, spreading out, cutting off angles. Professional, efficient. He had trained with these people, trusted them. "I saved its life," he said. "It saved mine." "Doesn't change what it is," the voice replied. "It's a weapon." "No," he said quietly. "It's a kid." That earned him a sharp laugh from somewhere in the group. "You're getting soft." Maybe he was. Or maybe he was finally seeing things clearly. The baby tightened its grip on his chest. The cavern reacted. The faint glow in the walls brightened, pulsing in slow waves. Thus the ground vibrated slightly underfoot. The soldiers noticed. "What the hell is that?" someone muttered. "Stand down!" the leader snapped, suddenly tense. "Stand!" The floor between them cracked open with a thunderous sound, not collapsing, not breaking apart, but shifting, rising. Stone pillars surged upward, jagged and uneven, forming a natural barrier between the soldier and his unit. Shouts erupted, weapons came up, fingers tightened on triggers. "Stop!" the soldier yelled. "Back up!" the baby cried out, a sharp, strained sound. The pressure in his head spiked. Images flooded his mind again. Fire raining from the sky, humans in white rooms, pain, screaming, restraints, needles, a small body strapped down while voices argued overhead. He staggered, nearly dropping to one knee. They had done this before. Maybe not to this one, but to its kind. The stone barrier stopped rising. Dust settled. Silence followed, thick and uneasy. The soldiers stared, shaken now. This wasn't in their training. This wasn't something you could shoot and forget. The leader's voice came again, quieter. "You can't take it with you?" "I already did," he replied. He turned away from them, stepping deeper into the cavern. The baby's power guided him, showing paths the humans couldn't see. The stone shifted again, sealing routes, narrowing passages. Not violently, purposefully. No shots were fired. By the time the soldiers found a way around, the cavern was empty. They emerged into the open air hours later, breathless and frustrated. No sign of him. No sign of the alien. Only disturbed earth and fading energy readings that meant nothing without context. Far from the battlefield, beyond the reach of command and war, the soldier walked beneath an open sky that hadn't been touched by smoke. The baby slept again. Peaceful this time, its injury nearly healed. He didn't know what came next. He only knew one thing for certain. The war had ordered him to eliminate it. Instead, it had changed him. And someday, when humanity met this species again, it wouldn't be as enemies. Not if he had anything to say about it. They traveled at night after that. Not because anyone was chasing them, but because old habits died hard. The soldier stayed low, avoided open ground, and kept his rifle within reach even when exhaustion pulled at his bones. The world beyond the battlefield felt wider, quieter, almost unreal. No artillery, no screaming radios, just wind moving through rock and distant stars burning cold and steady overhead. Before the baby stayed alert when awake, head turning at every sound, eyes reflecting starlight. It learned fast, too fast. By the second night, it understood tone, not words, but meaning. When the soldier was tense, it grew still. When he relaxed, it explored, touching stones, dirt, even his armor with careful curiosity. They found water in a narrow ravine. clean enough. He filtered it anyway. The baby watched closely, then reached out and copied his movements, clumsy but determined. When it succeeded, it made a soft clicking sound that felt like pride. The soldier found himself smiling before he could stop it. That scared him more than any firefight ever had. He cleaned his wound properly that night, teeth clenched as he stitched it closed. The baby watched, eyes wide. When he finished, it placed a small hand over the bandage. Its warmth spread through his leg, deep and soothing. By morning, the pain was gone. The skin beneath the bandage felt stronger, tighter, like it had never been cut at all. "You're not supposed to exist," he said quietly, staring at the stars. "Not like this." The baby didn't answer with thoughts this time. It simply leaned against him. On the third day, drones passed overhead. Human. Recon class. He hid beneath an overhang, heart pounding, ready to run. The baby sensed the danger before he did, its body tensing, the air shimmering faintly around them. The drones drifted past without slowing. "They're looking for us," he said. The baby's response came soft but clear in his mind. They will always look. That truth settled heavy in his chest. He knew then that there was no going back, no quiet life, no pretending this never happened. And the war might end one day, but fear wouldn't. Humans would always want control, always want power. And something like this, something born with the ability to bend the world, it would terrify them. That night, as the baby slept, he made a decision. He smashed his identification chip with a rock, snapped it clean in half. Without it, he was a ghost. No tracking, no records, just another body listed as missing, assumed dead. At dawn, they reached the edge of a forbidden zone. No battles here, no flags, just land no one wanted because nothing ever survived long in it. Radiation scars from old weapons, twisted terrain, unpredictable storms. The baby stirred, uneasy. "I know," he said softly, "but they won't come here." The storms rolled in by midday. Black clouds twisted unnaturally, lightning cracking sideways through the sky. He pushed forward anyway, guided by that quiet pressure in his mind. The baby wasn't afraid. If anything, it seemed familiar with this place. They reached a plateau as the storm broke. Rain hammered down, warm and heavy. The ground beneath them shifted, not violently, but enough to form shallow shelter. The baby raised its head, eyes glowing brighter than he had ever seen. The storm bent around them, not stopped, not controlled, avoided. He stared, rain soaking into his clothes, laughter bubbling up from somewhere deep and broken inside him. "You're not a weapon," he said. "You're a force." The baby looked at him, and for the first time, he felt something like a name forming in his mind. Not a sound, a feeling, identity, family. Far away, in clean rooms and reinforced bunkers, analysts stared at dead screens and empty maps. Something valuable was gone, something powerful. They would argue for years about whether it had been destroyed or stolen. They would be wrong, because it hadn't been taken. It had been saved. The Forbidden Zone did what it always did. It tested them. The first week nearly broke him. The storms came without warning, screaming across the plateau with enough force to tear skin from bone. The ground shifted underfoot at random, opening cracks that breathed hot air one moment and freezing mist the next. His supplies thinned fast. Rations turned to crumbs. Water became something he hunted more than the enemy. Through it all, the baby endured. Not untouched, not effortless, but adapting. It learned the land the way a body learns pain, by remembering. When the ground grew unstable, it tugged at his sleeve before it happened. When radiation spikes rolled through the air, it pressed close, creating that faint shimmer that dulled the worst of it. Each time it did, it weakened a little, sleeping longer, eating less. That worried him. "You don't have to protect me all the time," he said one night, voice hoarse as he chewed on a tasteless ration bar. "I'm the adult here, supposed to be the other way around." The baby looked at him, head tilted, then placed its hand against his chest. The pressure came again, not images, not warnings. Choice. It wasn't protecting him because it had to, it was choosing to. That realization hit harder than hunger ever could. On the 10th day they found the ruins. Not human, not fully alien either. Stone structures half swallowed by the land, worn smooth by time and storms. The symbols carved deep into the rock pulsed faintly when the baby got close, lighting up one by one like they had been waiting. "This is yours," he whispered. The baby responded with a low sound that vibrated through the stone. The ruins awakened. Hidden entrances opened. The air inside was warm, stable, safe. They moved in cautiously. Inside, the walls told stories without words. Shapes carved into stone showed beings like the baby, standing beside others that looked different. Smaller. Fragile. Humans. He felt his breath catch. Not enemies, not subjects, allies. The baby pressed its hand to one of the carvings. Emotion flooded him so strong he had to sit down. Sadness, loss, regret, trust broken long ago. This place wasn't abandoned by accident. They had hidden. From humans who decided fear was easier than understanding. "No, so this happened before," he murmured. "And we didn't learn." The baby made a soft sound, not angry, just tired. Days passed inside the ruins. His strength returned. His wound faded into nothing more than a pale mark. The baby grew stronger, too, practicing its abilities in small ways. Shaping stone gently. Moving water without force. Never destructive, always careful. That mattered to him. One evening, as the wind howled outside, the baby climbed into his lap, unprompted. It rested its head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. The connection deepened. Not control, not merging, understanding. It showed him flashes of what it could become if taken by force. Cities crushed in panic, worlds burned in retaliation, not because it wanted to, but because pain reshaped it into something else. Then it showed another future. Quiet places. Or to growth, balance, strength guided instead of unleashed. Both paths were real. Both depended on him. His throat tightened. "I won't let them turn you into that," he said. "Not ever." The baby's response was simple and devastating. "Then stay." And he realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. This wasn't a rescue anymore, it was guardianship. He stayed. At first, he told himself it was temporary. A few weeks, maybe months. Long enough for the war to move on, for attention to shift, for the world to forget about one missing soldier and one lost asset. But time had a way of changing meaning in the ruins. Days blended together. The storms outside became background noise. The silence inside stopped feeling empty. He learned the place as if it were alive. Some corridors warmed when he passed. Others stayed cold. Certain chambers responded to the baby's presence instantly, light blooming softly from the stone. There were rooms he wasn't allowed into. Not by force, by feeling. When he stepped too close, that pressure in his head gently pushed him away. "You don't trust me there yet?" he said once, half joking. The baby looked at him, then placed its hand on the floor. A symbol lit up, one he hadn't seen before. The meaning came slow and heavy. Not yet. Fair enough. He trained again, but differently this time. No shooting unless necessary. No loud movements. He practiced endurance, climbing, balance. The baby watched everything, mimicking when it could. Sometimes it failed and fell, letting out an annoyed chirr that almost sounded like frustration. He helped it up every time. Outside the forbidden zone, the world kept spinning. The search operations expanded, then quietly shrank. Satellites lost track of the area because the storms twisted readings into useless noise. Analysts argued. Command blamed equipment failure. Eventually, attention shifted to fresher battles, newer threats. Inside the ruins, something else happened. The baby grew, not fast, not unnaturally, but steadily. Its abilities became more controlled, less instinctive. It no longer reacted out of fear. It acted with intention. When it shaped stone, it reinforced weak structures. When it moved water, it redirected it toward cracked channels that needed filling. Creation, not destruction. That mattered. One night, while he slept near the central chamber, the baby woke him. Not with sound, but with urgency. The pressure in his mind spiked, sharp and focused. Danger. Human. He was on his feet instantly, the rifle in hand. The ruins dimmed, lights fading to near darkness. Outside, the storm had gone eerily quiet. Footsteps echoed faintly beyond the outer stone. Scouts. Not a full unit, a probe team, careful, smart. They didn't forget, he whispered. The baby stood beside him now, no longer clumsy, posture steady. The shimmer around it was different, denser, more refined. It wasn't afraid. It was ready. No, he said firmly, kneeling to meet its gaze. Not like that. Images tried to surface. Quick solutions, overwhelming force. But he pushed them aside. He placed his hand over the baby's chest. We don't become what they fear, he said. We survive without proving them right. The baby hesitated, then nodded slowly. Together they moved. The ruins responded instantly, corridors shifting silently. That walls guided the scouts away from the inner chambers, looping paths that led nowhere. No traps, no harm, just confusion. When the humans marked their position, the markings faded minutes later. One scout panicked, fired a shot. The sound echoed like an insult. The baby flinched, power surging instinctively, but stopped. It looked at him. He shook his head once. The stone beneath the scout's feet softened just enough to sink them knee-deep. Not crushed, not trapped forever, immobilized. Long enough. By dawn, the scouts retreated, shaken, reporting nothing useful. No visuals, no hostile engagement. Just a place that refused to be understood. When it was over, he sat heavily against a wall, adrenaline draining fast. The baby approached slowly. You did good, he said. Better than I would have once. The baby leaned into him, was exhausted but calm. That night, something changed between them. Not dependency, trust fully formed. He realized then that the ruins weren't just a hiding place. They were a test, and the baby had passed it. So had he. The world didn't end with fire. That surprised him. Years passed, measured not by calendars but by change. The baby was no longer small, still young by its kind standards, but steady, thoughtful, aware. It walked beside him now instead of clinging to his chest. Its presence filled the ruins in a way that felt right, like the place had been waiting to breathe again. The storms eased over time, not vanished, but calmer. The land healed slowly, scars smoothing out, radiation fading. Life crept back in small ways. Hardy plants, insects, creatures that adapted instead of dominating. The baby encouraged that, but guiding growth with patience, never forcing it. He watched all of it with quiet pride. He had grown older, too. Lines etched deeper into his face. His hands weren't as steady as they once were. But he was alive. Truly alive. Not just surviving between orders and missions. Sometimes, at night, He thought about the soldier he used to be, the one who followed commands without question, the one who believed monsters were always obvious. He knew better now. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the ruins gold, the child, no longer a baby, not quite grown, sat across from him. Its eyes were clearer than ever, strong, calm. The pressure touched his mind one last time, gentle and respectful. They are coming again. Not soldiers, not hunters. He felt it too. Not through power, but through the world itself. Distant signals, careful approaches, a fear mixed with restraint. They learned, he said quietly. A little, at least. The child nodded, then showed him something new. A future, not forced into his mind, but offered. Humans arriving without weapons, leaving when asked, returning only when invited. Some would still fear, some would still hate, but others would listen, learn, teach their children differently. It wouldn't be easy. It would take generations. He smiled, tired but content. I won't see all of that. The response came soft, warm, absolute. You were never meant to. When his time came, it was quiet. No alarms, no gunfire, no screaming skies. He lay within the ruins, stone warm beneath him. The child, now something more, beside him. He wasn't afraid, not of death, not of being forgotten. Promise me something, he whispered. The child leaned close. Oh, don't save them by force, he said. Let them choose to be better. The answer came without hesitation. Always. When he was gone, the ruins sealed gently, not as a tomb, but as a memory. The land carried his presence for a long time after. A human who chose mercy when extermination was easier. A soldier who disobeyed one order and changed the direction of two species. Far away, histories would argue. Some would say the alien weapon was destroyed. Others would say it never existed. A few would whisper about a guardian spirit in the forbidden zone. None of them would know the truth. That it all began with a single command. Soldiers were ordered to eliminate it, and instead, it saved them all.